Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Ling Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's stories. California's Reparations Task Force recently voted in spirit to extend the life of the team. But its slow progress on producing reports and proposals is attracting criticism. State lawmakers are looking to make tuition cheaper for students living in Mexico but attending college in California. New proposal only includes students who cross the border each day for school. It's tax season, which means it's time to organize our documents to send to the IRS. One tax professional gives some advice on changes to look out for. The California Reparations Task Force voted to extend the deadline for submitting its proposal. Since late 2020, this task force was asked to create a plan for compensating residents who are descendants of slaves. But its slow progress has attracted criticism over the years.
The California Reparations Task Force voted 8-0, with one abstention, to extend its report submission deadline from July 2023 to July 2024. But this vote is only, quote, in spirit, and does not actually change deadlines for the African American Reparations Report. Task Force Chairwoman Camila Moore said the task force supports, in spirit, the extension of the life of the task force by another year, July 1st, 2024, for implementation purpose only. We do not authorize or write legislation, but all agreed as a task force the idea of continuing this work to ensure that reparations become a reality in California. This follows Governor Gavin Newsom's veto of a bill last year that would have actually extended the deadline, in addition to allowing the creation of subcommittees and removing set terms for members. But Newsom cited worries about changing a set deadline and demoralizing African Americans hoping to get reparations. Since its creation in late 2020, the task force has been slow at deciding who qualifies to receive reparations. The slow decision, in addition to their first report only coming out in June 2022, giving vague recommendations and proposing an estimated $569 billion cost, led to lingering questions and criticism. Staffers at the Capitol noted that any more legislation pushing for an extension would likely be vetoed again. A state Capitol staffer told the California Globe, quote, "The task force has had a long time to come up with a reparations plan, and many here have begun to be a bit annoyed with it. Reparations may be passed still in the future, but the fact that they're begging for extra time now amid all this is adding to the worry. There will likely be more reparation task force meetings throughout the first half of 2023.
A California bill introduced this year may grant cheaper college tuition for students in Mexico. The author wants to ease the difficulties of students crossing the border each day for in-state tuition fees.
Current California law requires community colleges to charge non-resident students a non-resident tuition fee unless there's an exemption. But on January 5th, Assemblymember David Alvarez introduced Assembly Bill 91 to make it easier for students who live in Mexico to attend college in California. The LA Times reports that binational students living near the border, many of whom are U.S.-born children in low-income households, attend school in California but may live in Mexico because it's more affordable. Qualifying students would pay in-state tuition, which is $46 per unit compared with the average $300 non-resident fee. The bill would create a 5-year pilot program allowing non-resident, low-income students who are residents of Mexico within 45 miles of the California-Mexico border to be exempt from out-of-state tuition fees. They must also be registered for lower division courses at one of 7 campuses in the San Diego and Imperial Valley Counties Community College Association. Each participating college would allow up to 200 exempted students under this pilot phase. The students must have U.S. or Mexican citizenship with a visa to participate. The bill has been referred to the Committee on Higher Education and may be heard this month.
It's the time of the year we're all scrambling to get our numbers in order to send to the IRS. But what are the changes this year? And what are some of the deductions that many tend to overlook? Earlier today, Good Morning NTD anchor Evelyn Lee spoke to a tax professional to ask for some advice. Let's take a look at the conversation.
Joining me now is Daniel Geltrude. He is a managing partner at Geltrude and Company. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first things first, I want to start with some do's and don'ts. So can you please start by sharing some of those when it comes to doing taxes?
Sure, and you know, the do's are very basic. For example, check your math on things. You'd be surprised how many times addition errors are made. So you want to double check that. Second thing, make sure you stay organized, because when you have your paperwork all over the place, things are bound to be missed. So you always want to organize all of your tax information. Of course, when you're filing your tax return, one of the things that you always want to be careful about is your filing status. Single, married, head of household, married, filing separately, all those things very much matter. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you're filing online. That is the best way to file your tax returns.
Right. And are there any, deductions that maybe are often overlooked, but you think that people should definitely include?
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, those out-of-pocket charitable contributions, you want to make sure that you're keeping track of all of those charitable deductions. Student loan interest is another one. Moving expenses, child and dependent care credits, the earned income tax credit. These are all deductions and credits that are available to people, and many times they tend to be overlooked. And when you overlook these things, you are giving the government extra money. That's not what we want to do.
I'm sure very little people want that, so good point. And let's talk about this year in particular. Is there any big changes that we should pay attention to?
Well, the changes aren't as big as they have been in prior years, but there are some changes. For example, the standard deductions are larger than they were last year. The income tax brackets have shifted in terms of where you hit different tax rates. The child care tax credit is smaller, and here's another one. There is no more $300 allowed charitable tax deduction. That went away. So in order to be able to take a charitable deduction, you must be itemizing your deductions.
Let's take a moment for those people that are filing taxes for the first time. It can be a scary thing. So any words of advice for them to make their lives easier?
You know, I really would recommend, especially if it's your first time, having a seasoned tax professional file your tax returns. And I understand that people may be saying, well, I don't want to spend that money on tax preparation. But the thing about it is you want to make sure you get your taxes right. You don't want to, so to speak, leave any money on the table. So it's never a bad idea, especially right out of the box, to make sure you're filing your taxes properly and only paying the taxes that you are due to pay and nothing extra.
Very good advice. So thank you so much, Daniel Geltrude. I appreciate it today.
Thank you.
We are going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. A study reports that children are still struggling post-pandemic. Their struggles include both academic and psychological. Hollywood's famous mountain lion received a celebration of life event. Locals came together to share songs, stories, and murals celebrating P-22. And San Francisco held an event to showcase rare books. NTD's Jason Blair went to see what the exhibitors had to offer. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Liang Zhang. A study from Children Now shows that California children are still struggling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. both academically and mentally. Few students meeting academic standards and many experiencing chronic depression and even suicidal thoughts.
California children have not fully recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic, both academically and mentally. That is according to a new report from research organization Children Now. After evaluating 58 counties in the Golden State, the study found that few students are meeting educational standards, and 1/3 of the state's children reported experiencing chronic sadness or helplessness. Additionally, the report revealed only 83% of California's teachers were fully qualified. Children Now President Ted Lempert said that it's time to use this information to act by prioritizing kids and their families. On the bright side, California's graduation rate of last year slightly improved from 2019.
Angelinos came together to celebrate mountain lion P-22's life over the weekend. The mountain lion rose to fame after crossing 2 highways and made Hollywood his home.
Angelinos held a Celebration Alive event for P-22, Los Angeles' most recognized famous mountain lion. Held at the Greek Theater on Saturday, actors, musicians, politicians, and wildlife officials all attended the grand celebration. Tickets were free and sold out well before the event, with thousands in attendance. The event had songs, stories, and murals of P-22. A day before the celebration, congressional representatives called for a postage stamp honoring the big cat. He was known against all the odds to have traveled from the Santa Monica Mountains, making his way across 2 of the busiest freeways in the nation to Griffith Park. Making the 9 square mile his home, he was captured and collared in 2012. But last December, researchers captured P-22 and found the big cat with deteriorating health conditions and was likely struck by a vehicle. Experts then made the decision to euthanize the famous cat to prevent him from further suffering. His remains are currently at the National History Museum. P-22's life has been used as an example for conservation efforts with the wildlife in California. The Wallace Annenberg Wildlife Crossing is currently being built in the hopes of wildlife being able to expand their territory safely.
Speaking of mountain lions, one attacked a young boy last Tuesday. On January 31st, a 5-year-old boy was attacked by a mountain lion in San Mateo County, located on the San Francisco Peninsula. Authorities said the boy had raced ahead of his party when a big cat pounced on him and pinned him to the ground. The child survived and was treated at a hospital. The search for the mountain lion was called off due to investigators being unable to get access to the private area where the attack occurred. Authorities noted that mountain lion attacks are rare. Rare books, photos, maps, programs, and more were on display at Rare Books San Francisco for 3 days over the weekend. NTD's Jason Blair got a chance to talk to some of the exhibitors and see what they had to offer.
I'm here at the Rare Book Fair in San Francisco. There are 3 floors with 60 exhibitors from around the world showcasing collectible books, magazines, photos, and other hard-to-find publications. The event is called Rare Books San Francisco, and it's the first time in a decade that the city by the Bay has hosted a Rare Book Fair.
It's an amazing opportunity to see so much historic material all in one place. You get to talk with the experts who are dealing with the materials, and you can even take some home with you if you'd like.
At the front, there was a display of prints and historical photos related to the host city, like this original program from the 1936 opening of the Golden Gate Bridge.
And it's great because it opens up in the center with a panorama of the bridge.
This next autographed rare find is one of only 500 copies made and goes for $335,000.
So here we have the true first printing of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So in America it was known as the Sorcerer's Stone, but actually in the UK it was published as the Philosopher's Stone.
Then going further back in time is this ritualized copy of Mahayana Buddhist Sutras.
It's a manuscript in Japanese from the Nara period of Japan, it's from the 8th century, so in the mid-1700s, and it's just actually preserved in extraordinary condition.
One area that bookseller John Windle specializes in is English poet and artist William Blake, one of the best-known names in English literature after Shakespeare.
This, for example, is classic. This is absolutely classic Blake-style watercolor treatment, where he uses these particular colors and brush strokes in a way that was unique to him at the time.
Rare Books San Francisco partnered with the Book Club of California, which was established in San Francisco in 1912. It aims to preserve and promote the history of books, book arts, and the history of California and the West. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
At the Capitol, audience members warmly welcomed Shen Yun at the Safe Credit Union Performing Arts Center. They described the performance to be unrivaled and a story worth telling.
The Shen Yun Performing Arts returned to California's capital for 4 performances in Sacramento. Some of the audience say they can feel the joy and spirit in the performers.
There's great joy in the dance, and each particular dance seemed to have a story that was worth telling. It wasn't just look at the extravaganza here. It's got some depth and meaning in each individual piece that they represented. So I'm grateful that they put this together. Very grateful.
I thought it was without rival. I was so impressed. I love the choreography that they had. I thought it was very well done. And what I was telling one of your people is that I really enjoyed the emotion that was expressed. It's very difficult to express emotion through dance, and these people did it flawlessly.
We just came out of COVID. I guess still going through COVID a little bit, and I think a lot of people saw a lot of stress and anxiety during that time, and so I think it's really nice to know that kind of come together and see the message and be out with people. And
for Jim Chong, a radio host, it's his 6th time watching Shen Yun.
I think it really always changes. It's getting better and better, but I think it's just unique how they integrate the screens and just the performing arts. It's a highlight in the history of China, and it is our culture, so how can we not just enjoy it?
I think it's such an important culture and a history that we need to know about, and it's wonderful to see people who are trying hard to introduce this to other people who don't know the culture, and it's wonderful to revive it.
I believe that the name Shen Yun and the fact that the dance has what they called divinity within it, it's divine. It shows a form of spirituality that they express through their movement, through the culture, through the ancient ways of the Chinese. I wasn't aware of it, and that's what I'm going to take with me. A little bit of goodness.
Shen Yun shows moments from China's 5,000-year history. Aside from portraying different dynasties and ethnic groups, the artists also show modern-day China. Under the Chinese Communist regime, people of faith are persecuted for their beliefs.
We know there's a whole message like the one we just saw about the things that are happening in terms of human rights and against the religion and also the organ harvesting. I mean, there is a serious message to it, but I feel very honored. It makes me grateful to live in this country, but also very humbled about things that are going on in China right now.
The person who was speaking, kind of talked about that a lot of these persecutions and things are still going on today. In that regard, very sad, but then also, gives me much appreciation for where I'm at today, and but also, a message to continue learning about the world and inspiring my daughter and the next generation coming up to do the best that we can.
I think the biggest portion is because when they see something like this, it's also going to strike a chord in their own selves or within, deep in their heart. Because they need to understand that this is, again, a human emotion and our existence that we all share alike. There's nothing different about how somebody in China feels, how somebody here in the States feels, or any other place in the world, because we all have that human connection.
I think our world is in great need of more religious inspiration and help, and I'm grateful for those who are helping to do that.
Shen Yun aims to revive China's divinely inspired culture. People in the past lived in harmony with heaven and earth.
Their dance appears to me to do a good, I would say, job at repairing the broken world, one dance step at a time. You know, bringing a little goodness into the world in this manner, and I think their lives are very well spent in this particular effort.
The group heads to Reno next for 2 performances at the Pioneer Center for the Performing Arts. NTD News, Sacramento, California.
Now let's check in with the NTD's Tyler Castillo for today's Sports Roundup.
Welcome everyone, I'm Tyler Castillo and I'm taking you through the California Today Sports Roundup.
The NFL Stars made an appearance in Las Vegas for the 2023 Pro Bowls. San Francisco 49ers George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk both have multiple touchdowns for the NFC, one of the only teammates to have multiple touchdowns. 49ers Fred Warner also got 7 tackles, which was more than anybody else participating in the Pro Bowls. Other players representing California in the NFC were Jalen Ramsey for the Rams, 49ers Talanoa Hufanga, Trent Williams, and Christian McCaffrey. LA Chargers Derwin James was the only player representing the AFC from California. The NHL All-Star kicked off in Sunrise, Florida, where we saw our California All-Stars represent the Pacific Division. The Pacific Division was eliminated in the first semifinal round against the Central Division. San Jose Sharks defenseman Erik Karlsson scored a goal and 1 assist. Los Angeles Kings forward Kevin Fiala had 2 assists. Troy Terry was representing the Anaheim Ducks in the All-Star. Central 6, Pacific 4. Trey Murphy III scored a season-high 30 points as host New Orleans defeated Sacramento in a battle of shorthanded teams. The Pelicans played without 3 starters, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and Jonas Valanciunas, and the team won its 2nd game in 2 nights after a 10-game losing streak. CJ McCollum added 24 points in New Orleans' highest scoring game of the season. Malik Monk scored 16 points, Domantas Sabonis had 12 points and 11 rebounds, Trey Lyles scored 12 points, and Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, and Keon Ellis added 10 each to lead the Kings. Pelicans 136, Kings 104.
And thank you for tuning in for the Sports Roundup for today.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.